This is the easiest of the factoring lessons, and it's just called factoring the difference of two squares, or other textbooks call it the factoring perfect squares, which is probably, if we did this last year, what I called it is factoring perfect squares, and they're pretty simple. So you're going to be told to factor something like this, and here's the thing: in order for this method to work, it can only be two terms, and it has to be subtraction. Before, when we were factoring trinomials, there were three terms. There was an x squared, there was an x, and there was a no x. This one has to be two terms, and it must be subtraction. And the truth is, it doesn't have to have an x squared and a no x. As long as my exponents are even and my whole numbers can be square rooted, you'll be fine. Because here's what we do. We technically find the square root of each term. What that means in all reality is we square root the whole numbers and we divide the exponents by 2. So we have two terms here. We have x squared and we have 9. And we're going to square root those. Now the square root of x squared is just x, and the way that we square root a variable with an exponent is to divide the exponents by 2. And in this case, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and it's an understood 1. Square root of 9 is 3. So all we need to know is x and 3, and then we just write it as x, x plus 3, and then x minus 3. You can also write it using this plus or minus sign, and that's fine. Really, we probably need to just be more used to writing it like this, because we're going to use this later on to cancel some things out. So just write it out, x plus 3, x minus 3. So really, you just square root both terms, and then you piece them together in the right format. So let's look at one more. All right, so let's factor 9x squared minus 25. And first of all, we have to check two things. Is it two terms? And is it a minus? And the answer is yes. So we're going to square root this. So the square root of 9x squared, square root of 9 is 3. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 25 is simply 5. So my answer is 3x plus 5, 3x minus 5. And that's it on these. Okay, so let me give you your homework on the next slide real quick. So kind of the same thing, the exact same thing that we did with the last video. What I would like for you to do is do these 4 problems and then just send me a picture of that. One thing that I do need to point out is this right here. Well, I can't get my pen to work. Right here. The square root of 1. What times what equals 1, and the answer is 1. Okay, so just remember, square root of 1 is 1. Try these 4 factoring the perfect square. Send me a picture of it, and then we'll move on to the other one. So I'm going to just send these 2 videos, and after you work through these 2 and we check them, because we're going to use these concepts higher level in this lesson of this textbook. So work through these, send me a picture, we'll check them, and then we'll get the rest going.